So I saw in my Google News feed this morning that the Taliban had painted over the George Floyd mural in Kabul and had painted a message of victory over it. Now, I'm going to get into this a little bit deeper, but I think it's hilarious that the Taliban can stand up to the craziness of the George Floyd cult, whereas the United States government cannot. Okay? But what I want people to understand, this Blinken dude, he's concerned, our Secretary of State is concerned by the government of the Taliban, which is not inclusive. It's 100% Taliban, 100% male, and I don't know, they're worried about women's rights and all this crap. If you're so worried about this, protect this stuff here in the United States. Okay? Protect secularism in the United States, but they're not. They're going to be importing 90-some thousand Afghanis into the United States that may or may not hold views similar to the Taliban or worse. And what do I mean by worse? There's this term Bakabazi or Bakubazi or something, which is an Afghan term for pedophilia with young boys. And, this is what, probably a lot of these people that are fleeing the Taliban, this is probably why they're fleeing the Taliban. Does this mean we want them in our countries? Think about it. Okay? Now, I'm not saying they all are. I'm not saying all Afghani men are pedophiles. But I'm sure a considerable amount of them are. It's like saying not all Catholic priests are pedophiles. But if you allow your child, your male child, or even female child, because they're pedophilic against women too, or with women as well. But if you let your child go to a Catholic church, you're a bad parent. I mean, that's basically what it boils down to. And the thing is, there needs to be a protection of secularism in the United States. Why are we giving a crap about an Afghani government? Think about that. It has no concern to us. And then people are concerned, oh, China, the Afghans came out, the Taliban came out and said China is their greatest ally. Let China be their greatest ally. You know what China doesn't do? China doesn't give away things for free. How do you think this is going to turn out compared to U.S. foreign aid, which was a waste of trillions of U.S. dollars that could have been used to, I don't know, fight the COVID-19 crisis, for better schooling, to improve the social welfare programs in the United States, I don't know, to cover socialized medicine. A lot of people, all these people that claim there's no money for socialized medicine, there's a couple of $1 trillion that you could have put towards socialized medicine. That's a whole bunch of money. Get a lot of hospital beds with that. Build a lot of hospitals with $1 trillion, okay? I mean, Jesus Christ, it was enough to completely make over Afghanistan, okay? But no, can't turn that to the Americans. Now, my point would be, I do have an overarching point to this video, and that is the importance of secularism. I made a previous video about the importance of secularism in the United States and why the United States and the Western Hemisphere should strive to be as secular as possible. And people like to talk about how horrific the actions of the Taliban are. It was not that long ago. People always wonder, why do I consider myself an American? I'm an American. I am not a European. I am an American. I am an American identitarian. Because America was formed from the Enlightenment. Okay? And we have certain values that Europe does not have. Okay? And Europe has gone batshit crazy with how far it's taken certain aspects of the Enlightenment. So a lot of people, like when people talk about, oh, the Enlightenment's bad because the big H and the big M, the big M in Italy and the big H in Germany didn't like the Enlightenment. Well, that's because Europe had a different understanding of what the Enlightenment was, thanks to Français, okay? Haiti, the state of Haiti that used to be the gem of the Caribbean, is the result of the Enlightenment in France. It's the idea of the French people's embrace of democracy. The United States did not embrace democracy. They embraced constitutional republicanism. And we've always had a strict separation of church and state, and it should stay that way. It really, and by church and state, of course, I mean a separation of Congress and Congress's ability to make laws that are in favor of or against religion. And they can't do that. And what you have to understand, and I'll leave links in the description, it wasn't that long ago in the grand scheme of things that the Catholic Church was torturing people to death for heresy. It wasn't that long ago that the Protestant Church was torturing people to death for heresy. It wasn't that long ago when Puritans were killing people for what they perceived as witchcraft in New England. Okay, so you have to keep in mind that if you want a healthy society, a secular government is the way to go. Especially in the Western Hemisphere. These religiously crazy governments are end up being crazy, okay? And if you really want to think about it, now the Catholic Church is a big-time contributor to fiddling with U.S. politics, okay, to favor their religious predilections, or really, and I've gone over this in previous videos, I believe the Catholic Church should be 100% banned in the United States and all of our territories, because they are technically they're a child sex trafficking ring masquerading as a religion, and they're not. They're a child sex trafficking ring pretending to be a religion, and they need to be completely outlawed by the secular government of the United States. Now, what's funny is, and I'll leave a link in the description, I forget which one of the 11 satanic rules of the earth it is, but one of the 11 satanic rules of the earth by Anton LaVey states, Satanists do not harm small children, do not harm children, period. Okay, and it says it reiterates it in the Bible, the Satanic Bible. Satanism is more against pedophilia than Christianity is. It's more against pedophilia than Islam is. It's more against pedophilia than Judaism is. Satanism has the moral high ground when it comes to religions, as it is codified in Satanism to not be a pedophile. Okay? Whereas you have whole religions that are basically pedophile, like the Catholic Church, that's a pedophile sex trafficking ring disguised as a religion. Okay? So you have all that going. Links in the description, by the way. Links are in the description. But the thing is, and I don't support a satanic government either. Okay? But what I would like to point out is, and I'm not a Satanist, and I'm going to go into this too, because there are branches of Christianity that also acknowledge the need for a strict separation of church and state. But first, I'm going to talk about Satanism's desire for a strict separation of church and state. Satanism comes from secularism. The religion of Satanism is based in the teachings of Ragnar Redbeard. It's based in the teachings of Ayn Rand. It's based in the teachings of Friedrich Nietzsche. It's based in the teachings of Niccolò Machiavelli. It's based in these people's teachings, okay? So Satanism was birthed from secularism. You would not have seen Satanism take the form that it did in the United States in any other country. In fact, that is where, in the other countries, that is where you see reversed Christianity. Okay? That is where you're seeing the reversed Christianity and things like the Order of Nine Angles and things like that, where it takes a more Christian idea of what Satanism is. It takes on a more Christian context of what it means to be a Satanist in Europe and things like that. But you also have Seventh-day Adventists that are very much in favor of a secular government, because the government needs to remain secular to protect people's religious freedoms. Another group of people that is very in favor of a secular government are the Mormons, the Latter-day Saints, and that has to do primarily with the fact that there was an extermination order against them because of the fact that people didn't like their religion, okay? So you will see that in the United States, we have a need to separate church and state, and it is a required need. And what happens is, like, these people that have these ideas that, oh, well, the Catholic Church should run everything, or the born-again Christians should run everything. This is under the idea that your tribe will be in power, okay? That's not how it works out. When you allow a certain freedoms for a government to take with your freedoms, they will take those liberties with your freedoms, regardless of who's running the government, and it's not always going to be your people. Okay? And that's what you need to understand. And remember, as a third positionist, where do rights come from? They don't come from nature. They don't come from God. No, 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 no. Your rights come from the state. So you have rights so long as the government remains secular, so long as the church stays out of the state. And people might go, oh, well, Benito Mussolini, blah, 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 Catholic, and the big H, blah, 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 Catholic. And what you will note about Mussolini's government and the big H's government, what were they also? They were secular governments with a strict separation of church and state. Okay? That's what you need to understand. The church did not dictate to either of these countries how they functioned, period. And even in countries like Argentina, with justicialism, which I consider to be the apex of third positionism, there was still a separation of church and state. Yes, justicialism is a Christian ideology, according to Juan Perón. However, it's Christian in its actions. It is active Christianity, okay? It is not religious Christianity. That's what needs to be kept in mind. And maybe perhaps in some ways they did not keep that in mind as best they should have. But my point is, and I do want people to follow the links in the description, how you defend the nature of the United States Republic is not by filling it with people that are going to change the demographics and the ideology over time. Now, people might go, well, you're the one that said you welcomed these Afghani refugees. Yeah, I still do. You have no choice. You have no choice. I'm hoping that we will get more conservative-minded Afghans, although we probably won't, but I'm hoping we get more conservative-minded Afghans that embrace, the secularism and the religious freedoms and the freedoms that are given to people in the United States. Unfortunately, when Muslims in the United States are granted the same freedoms as other groups of people, they tend to do with it what other groups do with it, and like the Catholics and like a certain group of people that wear a tiny hat to church on Saturday, the Muslims tend to turn the freedom of religion against the country and against the population of the country through charges of Islamophobia, like the Catholics do and like that other group of people do that wear that tiny little hat on the back of their head when they go to church on Saturday. So my point is that if you wish to protect what America is, it takes responsibility to embrace what secularism is and why a secular government is the ideal government. Remember, I would say that our founding documents of this country, the Declaration of Independence, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, I would say that they are the spiritual, I don't believe in a spiritual backbone, but they would be the spiritual and ideological backbone of this republic. And it's secular in its wording. We have a creator. We don't have Yahweh or Jehovah or Allah or anything like that. We have a creator, according to the founding documents of this country. As far as people might go, well, what about atheism? Do you believe in it? No, I don't. I believe in a secular government. You can't consider a militantly atheist government, such as was present in, and is allegedly present in communist China or the Soviet Union or North Korea. You can't consider a militantly atheist country to be secular, as it is pushing an anti-religious ideology in that respect. And that's all for this video. Please follow the links in the description.